Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. This is Rock and Roll Spot coming at you with the supposed to be weekly TV roundup. First off, I'd like to offer my apologies for there not being a TV roundup last week or a video this past Saturday. I was sick and it just wasn't conducive to making videos. That being said, moving on to the roundup of last week and this week's TV shows. We're going to start off with last week's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and work our way around to, well, this week's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, let's get started. Last week's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Dr. Zabo has recruited a team of villains from the S.H.I.E.L.D. Gifted Index to settle his vendetta against Coulson. Coulson and Bobby are led to Coulson's hometown in Wisconsin, where Zabo's group have taken over the local school stadium. May has her ex-husband, who's a psychoanalyst, work with Skye on learning control. Coulson ends up calling for backup, leading May to bring Skye and her ex on the bus to aid Coulson. Zabo confronts Coulson, and then May, upon her arrival, bluffs Zabo, threatening to kill Skye. Gordon, the blind inhuman teleporter, arrives and teleports away with Zabo. During the cleanup, Skye starts making tremors, but directs them inward, injuring herself in the form of various hairline fractures. Mac is shown to have taken Hunter to a safe house to await extraction by the real S.H.I.E.L.D. Gordon takes Zabo to his superiors and belittles him for using science to increase his strength. Moving on to last week's Scorpion. Opens with a group of hikers lost in the woods. Cut to Happy and Toby on top of the garage making a bet over a paper airplane, which, technically speaking, Toby wins. Cabe calls the team in to find the missing hikers as Santa and Windsor playing havoc with the search. The team begins searching by chopper using a modified version of Walter's software from the infamous Baghdad mission, Baghdad operation that is constantly brought up as part of Walter and Cabe's past. The winds cause the chopper to crash, however, leading the team and the chopper pilot to, well, crashing into a tree. When they get down from the tree, the team splits up, with Sylvester staying with the pilot, who was injured in the crash, while the rest of the team goes after the missing hikers. While trying to repair the radio, Sylvester starts a forest fire. The rest of the team manages, however, to find the missing hikers. However, they also run into the forest fire. Cabe managed to find the majority of the team, basically, aside from Sylvester and the pilot, with a rescue crew, and then Sylvester manages to catch up with the pilot. Afterwards, Toby makes another bet with Happy, where the idea being that, regardless of who wins, they go on a date. And rather than go through with everything, they decide to go to dinner. Moving on to last week's Flash. Begins with Mark Martin, the brother of the late Clyde Martin from the first episode, returning to Central City to avenge his brother, and of course he targets Joe. As we saw in the pilot, Clyde had weather control powers, and so does his brother Mark. Cisco starts thinking that maybe Joe was right about Harrison Wells and checks the containment field that failed to hold Reverse Flash, only to discover that the Reverse Flash that was held in it was actually a hologram. Shortly thereafter, Wells arrives and reveals himself to actually be Eobard Thawne, who is from the future, and in fact came to the past to kill Barry, but ended up killing Nora, which left him stranded in the present. Wells/Thawne further explains that he's pushing Barry so that he can use Barry's powers to return to his time. After that, he then kills Cisco to protect his secret. Martin kidnaps Joe and makes Joe watch as he sends a tsunami into the city to kill Iris. Barry is forced to reveal his secret identity to Iris just after she admits that having romantic feelings for him so he can save the city. Basically, he reveals the identity so he can save the city after romantic, yeah. Barry runs back and forth along the city coastline to build a barrier, but ends up running so fast he ends up creating a time warp, causing him to travel back in time to when Martin first returned to Central City. And that's where the episode ends. Moving on to last week's Arrow. Raish tries to convince Ollie to take over the League and even tells him of the Lazarus Pit, including that it is losing its potency. Hence, Raish looking for a successor. He also releases Ollie, Diggle, and Merlin, calling off all blood debts in the process, and the trio return to Starling, where Ollie, as a show of good faith, releases Nyssa to everyone's surprise. Team Arrow gets back to their usual routine, though Captain Lance is done helping them as they lie to him about Sarah's death. Ollie decides to pass on Raish's offer, and informs Maceo, who warns Ollie that defying Raish does have consequences. Nyssa, having learned of her father's offer to Ollie, decides to train Laurel. Raish comes to Starling and promptly frames Ollie for murder. And flashbacks, Ollie, along with Maceo and Tatsu's son, are on the run, and the pair seem to stumble upon, of all people, Shadow, who is somehow still alive. Moving on to this week's Flash. Now, keep in mind we are at the beginning, back at basically the beginning of the day, of that same day that the last episode took place on. Early in the day, Wells/Thawne realizes what's happened and warns Barry not to make any changes, as that could create bigger problems. Barry promptly ignores him and captures Mark Martin before Martin can kidnap Joe. Len Snart and Mick Rory, Captain Cold and Heatwave return to Central City as well, with and Len has his sister Lisa kidnap Cisco so that Cisco can rebuild the Cold and Heat guns for Len and Mick, as well as a new gun for Lisa that turns people into gold, and they in fact threaten to kill Cisco's brother should he refuse. Barry realizes that Wells/Thawne, that's what I'm going to be calling him from here on out, is right, and that his new actions basically are responsible for, in a roundabout way, responsible for Cisco's kidnapping, as well as Iris rejecting his advances this time around. Cisco is released and returns to Star Labs and reveals that Len tortured his brother until Cisco revealed that Barry is the Flash, leading Barry to go after Len. Eventually, Barry and Len call a truce of sorts, with Len opting to keep Barry's secret identity to himself, not kill any more innocents, and stay away from Barry and his friends, all to stay out of the particle accelerator. Wells/Thawne, as Reverse Flash, kills a reporter and destroys evidence linking Wells to the death of Simon Stagg. The incident, mainly the reporter's disappearance, makes Barry start thinking that maybe Joe was right about Wells. And that's where the episode ends. And finally, this week's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Skye is pulled from active duty and placed in a safe house with gloves designed to help repress her abilities. Dr. Garner, Mazek's the psychoanalyst, asks her to try to learn to control her powers. Ward and Agent 33 resurface, going after the designer of 33's long malfunctioning mask, which gets repaired, and the repair allows Ward and 33 to infiltrate General Talbot's base to break Bakshi, Whitehall's former right-hand man, out. The two succeed, and Bakshi tells 33 about her past before her and Ward brainwash Bakshi himself. Mac introduces Hunter to Robert Gonzalez and the rest of the leadership of the quote-unquote real S.H.I.E.L.D. Hunter is told that the group is founded on transparency rather than on compartmentalization, and that they see Coulson's behavior as a threat. However, Hunter manages to escape, leading Bobby to decide to attack Coulson's team. And that's it for the episode. Hopefully, should be back on Saturday with a video, and hopefully, this will get back to a weekly schedule here soon. It's the Rock and Roll Spock signing off. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on social media, at least Facebook and Twitter down below. Live long and rock hard.